Namaste. I'm Sarina Jain, and welcome to the Sarina Jain Show. I'm so excited for our person that's going to be joining us today. She is an incredible woman. I actually am quite emotional about it already because I just know her journey has been amazing. I met Sudha Auntie. I call her Auntie, but for all purposes, I just want to say that right now. I met her many years ago, and her support for what I do was evident. It was something that when I created Masala Bhangra, she was very much proud of what I do, and she wanted me to come in and join in on all of her events that she did for SACSS, which is South Asian Council on Social Services. And ever since I started doing these interviews with people who are making a difference, these are real people who are making a difference in our lives today, I immediately wanted to interview her and share her with you all, because I think what she has done is quite incredible. And I'm really excited to bring to you all Miss Sudha Acharya, who is the executive director and founder of South Asian Council of Social Services. So I really hope that you are here to learn and educate yourself on her journey, as well as ask any questions, please, because I would really love for you to hear what she has to say, and then I would love to answer any questions that you may have, and she can answer them as well. So with no further ado, please help me welcome Sudha Acharya.
Thank you, Sarina. It's great to be here. And I'll tell you one thing: that journey you're talking about, I'm very glad you're part of it too. You're in that journey. Thank you.
Namaste, Sudhaji. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm actually really excited to have this conversation, and I really hope that whoever's going to join us will learn something new about you and will be surprised by your journey, just something, because I've been really looking forward to our heartfelt conversation for today. I have so much to talk to you about, and I know that I have unlimited time. So I certainly want to make sure I share your journey with everyone. This is what I know of you, okay? You are a woman that came into this country in the United States many years ago. I don't know what you were doing before, which you'll have to share. And you pursued a journey to then now 21 years. The SACSS is celebrating, which is amazing because we are on the same journey. Masala Bhangra is also celebrating 21 years. So when I got involved with your 20th anniversary event, it got me thinking that we must have had the same energy, the same synergy, because we both were in New York at the same time, pursuing creating a community, a safe environment for people to come to. Yours was social services, mine was more health and fitness, but we must have been doing the same thing.
No, they're very connected. They're very connected, yes. Yeah.
And to be celebrating 21 years of giving your heart and soul in social services is commendable. So one, I just want to salute you and congratulate you on celebrating 21 years. That's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure our SACSS team and everybody who supports SACSS will be very happy to hear that.
For sure. So please just, tell us your journey. Walk me through a picture of when you first came to the United States. Why did you come to the United States? You were an immigrant at that time. Just walk me through the journey, where it all began when you came here.
Well, when I first came, my husband was an engineer, so he came, right? So followed with my little daughter, right? Okay, so it was strange, of course, like leaving the country of your origin and coming here. And there weren't that many Desis, there's many South Asians here at the time. So it took a little while to make friends, set down roots or whatever. But you realize that there is that nostalgia for the country you left behind, for the culture, for the languages, the life that you had before. And I knew that everyone else who came would be feeling the same way. So that's the reason, if you notice all these groups, all these organizations sprang up based on language or based on the region that they left behind. Like it was to get together, sort of also sort of hold each other's hand, as it were, right? So feel more at home here. In the beginning, it was that's what community work was, like so making sure that people didn't feel lost or alone, right? So that's what it was. And gradually, I think we realized that there were other issues, there were other things at stake. Okay, so um, you just want me to go on and just
No, no.
making
So
a story?
I just think you have so much to say. So I feel like
Hmm.
I could, I, what I would love to know is when you came to this country, obviously what you're saying is, I think like many immigrants, right? Even today, when someone
Hmm.
comes today, they leave their home country, they set up a route where they come, which is the United States. Similar to my parents, they came in the 70s, left everything behind to set up a life here for better. And the India, I grew up in this country, and so I was very lucky to have grown up around a South Asian influence, right? I had a lot of desis around me. So what you are saying just makes perfect sense. We, as parents, I can imagine my parents also needed that community, sense of belonging
Hmm.
to go somewhere, right? Be
Yeah.
friends with other South Asians, other desis. And so for sure, when you came to this country, I'm sure you were feeling that lack of. And so then, as when you came here, this is it, right? I mean, I don't think when I asked my mom, did you want to come here? She said, I didn't have a choice. That's where my husband.
Yeah, it was the same thing with me, right? Yeah. So you felt I was involved in some community work back home, right? Though I was a young woman, because I followed my mother, because my mother was very much into community work. So when you came here, you thought, here there is no one needs. Of course, there were other people, non-Desis, who needed help, I'm sure, but we were not very knowledgeable about that. So you thought of your community and said, oh, they don't need any support. But afterwards, you started realizing there were other issues,
Yeah, for
issues of
sure.
loneliness, issues. There were so many other things. So
I can
slowly,
imagine.
that yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
what.
when you came here to this country, because obviously SACS was not founded at that time. So
Yeah.
what did you do? What did you do before SACS was even founded?
I started working. Actually, my line was quite, what I had studied was quite different. It was master's in English literature. So here, that was, and even to become a teacher, I had to study more and get more credits and that sort of thing. It was not recognized at that time. So I decided to join the telephone company, New York Telephone Company, right? So I worked there for 20 years and
Wow.
took when they offered early retirement, I just took it, grabbed and took it. Yeah. So okay.
Fantastic.
And the other thing I was doing was, this was very satisfying. I represented All India Women's Conference, which is actually the oldest and largest women's organization in India at the United Nations.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
All India Women's Conference is called AIWC. It has branches all over India, 500 branches, right? And so my mother was the president of the Bangalore branch, and my sister was the general secretary of Mumbai branch, and so on and so forth. I was a founding member of the Sayan Vadala Kurla Chambur branch. So when I came here, I represented them at the United Nations. They have consultative status with Economic and Social Council for the
Wow.
UN. So that was very interesting work at the policy level, right? So how we could advocate for
So
women. Yeah.
it's amazing how, you already had that background, right, from India. You
Yes.
already had that influence from your mom, sounds like,
Right.
from your parents. So then obviously to come into this country, you came here. I can just imagine you came here, said, okay, this is where I'm going to live. This is where I'm going to create life. So now how do I get involved?
Exactly.
You were not
Exactly.
one to just, okay, sit down and, chup chop, like, sab kuch karo. Like you were one to be like, okay, how do I bring what I did in India here. And I can just imagine you, calling up everybody, talking to everybody, whoever you needed to do it. I can just imagine you putting your name out there and saying, my name is Sudha Acharya, and this is who I am, and I like to represent this. And is that correct? Would you, is
You
that, is
mean,
that, is that what you did? Because it doesn't sound like you just sat around.
oh, no, no, no. Like, what happens is when there are so few families, right? So at first it becomes families gathering together.
Right.
Then it becomes a Kannada Kota or, like Tamil Sangam or Punjabi International Society or Maharashtra Mandal. All these come together. What we did was there was a joint committee of Indian associations. That was the first one that was formed, right?
Mhm.
And I was, I led that for, not the first one to lead. It was formed when I
Mhm.
met. So for 2 terms or something, I did do that. That's the one which became FIA afterwards, Federation of Indian
Oh
Associations of
my
India.
God, what a small
Yes.
world. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And I was the president of the first woman president of FIA, 83, 84. Okay. That's when the previous year we had been as vice president, we had started the
Wow.
parade, India Day parade,
Yes.
right? So that's how organizations had formed together, and it was good to have an umbrella organization which sort of represented everyone, and so
Right.
that's what happened. And
Wow.
let me tell you, that was a very significant moment. When I was president, we hosted Indira Gandhi. Then
Here in the United States.
at the United States. I
Oh
have
my God.
pictures which are so precious, right? Unfortunately, 1 year later, she was killed in Delhi. Right, this is just 1 year before that, right? So we hosted her. So lots of
You've been involved in the Indian community since you came,
yes, yeah, right,
right? To New
yeah,
York, obviously. So you've been, constantly making sure that the Indian community had a voice in some way, shape, or form,
yeah.
which sounds like to me, which is
So
amazing.
now, just imagine, because of that, we when they started talking about family reunification, the immigration reform, if you know your history of United States, in 1965, right? Like not 1965, they started opening the doors, right, to immigrant families. So this family reunification they thought of. We Representative Peter Rodino, we hosted him, and we advocated vigorously for to include families of immigrants. Yeah, here.
Wow.
So we could do advocacy that way. And nowadays it is done at a more vigorous level.
Sure.
So it was started then. Yeah. So
When my father and mother came to the United States in the 70s, I certainly saw them get involved with the Indian community, maybe not on a political level, but we were involved. We supported all of the events. I grew up in California. So we went to, the parades, the Diwali functions. There
yes.
was somebody, obviously,
Mhm.
someone similar to you putting them all together.
Yeah.
And so we were involved from that perspective. But my
Hmm.
father would always say that we came to this country because he had an opportunity to come here for further studies. And he would remind me that we are in this country for a better life. So, please always respect your Indian culture, never disrespect that, never be embarrassed to be Indian, but also, take what the West has to offer because you will go very far,
Yeah.
which it still resonates with me today.
I,
Obviously,
that
with
was very wise, and supporting organizations is so important, right?
yes,
For them to thrive, for them to grow and do the things for the community. I think actually your family had it right, that to support the event, support those
100%.
organizations. And it's also very wise, really, that's great wisdom to say, okay, we left the other, the country of origin behind, but we now are citizens, are here in this country.
Right.
So we we take the best of both.
We
Right?
have
Okay.
to. We
Yeah.
must come together to support one
Yeah.
another, for
Support.
sure.
Yeah. So,
So then, when you were with the telephone company for 20 years, you decided to take an early retirement. Then what?
then what? Then I was very busy with the UN work, like Beijing conference, right? Like 1995, the Fourth World Conference on Women. I'd actually gone to the first World Conference in 75 to Mexico, right? So I was
Wow.
in the planning, the NGO planning group, right? I was like I helped with that, and after Beijing came back, all those things were happening, and of course. Beijing Platform for Action was there, and all those things. How would it be implemented? It was a very exciting time. Okay, as for
Yeah.
especially for NGOs, it was. All right, I was the chair. I was elected the first I was considered Indian. Okay, non-American chair of NGO committee in the status of women. That is the largest NGO committee at the UN. So for 2 terms, that was 4 years. After all that, like, okay, I must tell you about GoPio, Global Organization of People of Indian Origin, GoPio, right?
Wow. Okay.
So after these FIA, there were FIAs in like many parts of the country.
Sure.
Together, they came together as National Federation of Indian American Organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Used to have every 2 years conventions and so on. I was the vice president of that for a couple of, a term or two. Now we said there are people of Indian origin all over the world. So the very first time, Global Convention of People of Indian Origin was held in 1989, okay, at the Sheraton Center here in New York. We organized that. I was the Secretary General for that. So GoPio was formed, right? Yeah. We then started having conventions in various places, like in the world, and see what the issues were for people of Indian origin. So at that time, I was more interested. I used to be in charge of conferences and so on, but what were the issues and so on. But then you see, it occurred to us that yes, this model minority myth was there, that Indians were doing fine, and there were doctors and engineers and academics and techies, digital people. But the thing is, not all of them. That was a myth. Not all of them are doing well. We knew that there are people who didn't know English, who didn't have any job experience here. So as they didn't know English, they could not even get jobs and so on. And
Wait.
so, yeah,
No, when you say that they weren't doing well, what do you mean by that?
economically,
Okay.
we knew that. And like even to get jobs, it was difficult because so some people were doing blue collar jobs for very little money, right? So there were housing issues, there are food issues, there are so many things, but we could only guess at that. But we wanted to find out. So this is here comes SACSS, right? Yeah. In 2000, May 2000, we, GoPio, organized, I did it for GoPio, a day-long conference at the Kerala Center, right? Talking about issues. What were the issues for Indian Americans, actually, we were talking about at the time.
So that you have to ask you. So when you were talking about this, who were the attendees?
Who were the attendees? They were all the GoPio people. So
Right.
like all our friends and colleagues. Okay, they were the ones.
Got it.
So we decided to hold this conference, and a day-long one. The borough president, Queensborough president's chief of staff, was the keynote, right? And we invited other major organizations like Asian Americans for Equality, Forest Hills Community House, Met Council for Jewish Poverty, right? The executive directors of those came and spoke. And there were a handful of only 2 or 3 South Asian organizations. Saki came and spoke.
Right.
Saya was there, I think. Now there was an organization called Nav Nirman. It is not there anymore. Their, executive director came and spoke. So we had sessions. What does our youth want? What do our seniors want? What do families want? Like sort of different breakout sessions. At the end of the day, SACSS was born, right? At
Wow.
first, it was going to be Indian American Council for Social Services. Then we said, no, we have to make it broader. We have to make it South Asian so that it is we serve more people. We serve people from our region. So it became South Asian Council for Social Services.
That's amazing. So because of the feedback that you got from that meeting, uh, obviously spur up the idea of we need to create an organization to help people.
Right.
What is it? Why? What is it? You obviously, when I see you, when I hear your story, when I think of you, I think of this word called grit. You have a lot of grit in you to keep going. You have a lot of energy. And even now, when I'm speaking to you, this is the most one-on-one I've ever spoken to you about your story. You still have so much energy and smile of everything that you've accomplished. First of all, I want to know why. Why do you do what you do? Why is it that? Why do you? We all care, but it takes 1 or 2 people to really care and then take it further. What did something happen, or at the end of the day, what was it like? I have to help these people.
Probably it was my mother. It's I had seen my mother do it, right? Since the time I was very little, I used to go with her to. She was on the social welfare board. She actually, she and a couple of her friends started the one in Bangalore. They call it mentally retarded. The Institute for Mentally Retarded. Now, of course, that word they don't use, right?
Right.
So women's cooperative, also women's cooperative. They're responsible for so many of those institutions there. I used to go with her to villages, right?
Wow.
And while they were working, I would teach the women songs, or I was only in sometime in high school and then college, right early. So actually, I would teach them. In fact, I directed a play that they put together, and things like that, right? Like and I was in the NCC, National Cadet Corps. Okay, so we would go to social service camps, to villages, and so on, and teach them cleanliness and teach them this, and that. So it became a kind of
Your calling.
yeah, you needed to do things for people, like then it gives you satisfaction if you bring a smile on someone's face, right, where it wasn't there, that itself is yeah,
Satisfying.
that's
Oh
it's
no,
very satisfying. Yeah.
that makes me very emotional because I know that feeling so well. I know that feeling when you make a difference in someone's life, whether it be through a health purpose or bringing them back into dance, like in my world, when they thank you and say thank you for bringing me back
Yeah.
to life.
But something, they think that you are giving, right? But actually you get so much.
Sure.
You get this that's worth so much, that feeling of satisfaction that you see a smile on people's faces,
Right.
and a child's face and an older person's face. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
When SACSS was first founded, I'm sure you met with a lot of joyous people that were ready to support you, but I'm also sure you met with a lot of hesitation. Why do you want to do this? Why go do something else? I can just only imagine, right? What were you faced with? Tell me the positive and then the hurdles.
The challenges. So what happens is, for anything to happen, all you need is a core group of people. 4, 5 people, like-minded, right? Okay, who you may they all of us may not have the same view of what should be done, but as long as we are prepared to talk about it and come to a decision, a group decision is always more valuable than a single person's
Sure.
thought, right? That's what you need. Then you go ahead and yeah, there were many different divergent opinions, but I think we managed. We were only a core group, right? Yeah, and then it's that itself sells once you start, right? Actually, the way we everyone felt, oh, how do we know which are the issues? What are the most important or urgent ones for the community,
How do
right?
you, right?
How do you do that? So we launched a needs assessment survey. It was a very ambitious one. Okay, so 53 questions, because every week when we met, the questions would change and more would be added, right?
Right.
This is 53 questions. I don't know. Those people who really answered them, it was personally, it was not online, it was one on one. Okay, they had to answer those questions. Would you believe actually, I'll tell you what happened. We did 50, that was as a pilot. And then we had on August 3rd, 2001. By that time, we had, done our bylaws and all that sort of thing, like, yeah, registered SACSS. We launched it at an event in Manhattan. Uh, there used to be that Maharaja restaurant. That's where we had it. And Margie McHugh, the executive director of New York Immigration Coalition, was a keynote. And Prima Davis, I think she used to be the retired commissioner for aging from Mayor Dinkins, government. She was one of the speakers, and we launched it. Right? They said, "You go ahead and do this," and they were all very supportive. And we said, "Okay, we'll start." September 11th happened.
Yes, I was just about to ask you. Wait a minute. Wait, is this
Yeah,
possible?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Like a show.
you said, in 2001, when all of this took place, right? You launched it. Everything was happening leading up to the 9/11.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then, when
So my gosh, like world turned topsy-turvy, right? And we were, one good thing was we were in place. We were there. And it started with just one family whom we knew personally from Bangalore or something. And then it somehow got around that there is this organization, right? And consulate started referring, families of direct victims to us. Direct victims themselves, once we started talking to them, referring other families which had lost a wife or a husband or a child or a parent.
this all must have been overwhelming
Oh
because
my
your own
gosh, you have
personal
no
life.
idea. We
Oh,
don't have an office. My house is the office. My computer is the computer. My telephone is the telephone, right? Yeah. So, it was an enormous thing. But people were so helpful. We knew we needed the case management part. I was doing, I was talking to all of them, right? All kinds of hours, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. Sometimes somebody would call me, right, at that time. Yeah. So, but we needed social workers. And would you believe we already had a social worker with us, Dr. Vavinasa, right? And we needed people who knew South Asian languages also, right?
right.
Sri Srinivasan, I think, sent out an email to that was sorry. We sent out an email that we needed social workers, I think. So many people, in a day or two, we had a panel of 8 social workers or psychologists or psychiatrists, so sort of speaking different languages. Like they were so giving. They were
They
so
were, they,
they
it
were
sounds
so
like
good.
they jumped right in, ready,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
ready
that,
to help, ready to jump right in.
yeah, they did, and it was so good for these families, right? They started individual counseling, and soon we started group counseling for them in New Jersey, especially. When we started this, they now that became a network which is still there until today. They meet and they become friends and they support each other and that sort of thing. And we did it in Queens, we did it in Manhattan. So
So was that
that's
a
what we did.
turning? Was that a, if anything, was that your turning point? If any, because of my, was that your turning point to say, I know this is right, and we just have to keep moving forward because families need a place to go
Yeah,
to.
it sort of defined us.
Uh,
Like, so actually, SACSS mission statement at the time said to work with South Asian and other immigrants, right? We said Indo-Caribbean at the time also. Now we think all of us are Desis, like other immigrant groups too, and see where the gaps are in services, and then address those gaps. So that was the mission of the organization. So here was something enormous. Like we set the needs assessment survey aside and then totally worked on the relief work, right?
right.
And strangely enough, funders started talking to us. You're doing this work, let's help you, like, for doing these sessions, help, various other things. We'll give you a case manager. That's how Robin Hood called and said. And so that's how,
That is amazing. So it sounds like 9/11 when that happened, it was a game changer,
yeah,
and
it
it
was.
was pretty evident that SACS was there to help, and people started recognizing that this is an organization to come to. So, Sudhaji, now we're 21 years later. 21 years later. I mean, I just let's soak that in for a second. When you first started and where you are at now, in 21 years, so much has happened. Has the mission statement, I mean, what has changed with SACS? What have you added to the organization? And what is the most need that the community needs? What have you found that has helped the community the most?
It changes, right? Yeah. And any organization needs to be flexible in its, mission or what it does. Mission doesn't change, but the programs that you do change, right, according to the needs of the community, right? So we knew that health was a major issue because people need healthcare. Okay,
Right.
and we knew that the food security came later. Very, it's recent. It's only 5 years old. Our food
Right.
security program. So we were seniors, right? Seniors were isolated. They didn't know the language. They could not even talk to their neighbor, right?
Right.
So senior programs, right? So that was so. Now, for instance, um, 9/11 came, but afterwards we did finish our needs assessment survey. 629 people were interviewed, and the report is there, Unlocking the Golden Door, on our website. Right. So over the years, for instance, then came the recession,
Right.
right? Recession. At that time, it was job training that was important.
Got
People
it.
had lost their jobs, right? And so the English classes have been there all the time, so that their quality of life improves, their job prospects improve. So we do that, and the computer literacy, those classes, that'll get them a job. It's so strange. Like We go to a Dunkin' Donuts or something there, they'll wave there, people who are working there. Oh, I learned English at your, at SACS, right? So sometimes, it's nice to see people get some kind of job, right? So we had to pivot. We had to do that at that time.
You've constantly
Yeah,
basically,
we
evolved,
had,
right?
we
As
had to change.
time you've
Yeah,
evolved, the needs has evolved, the
evolved.
organization. Can
And,
you
and
remember? Can you remember what is, in the 21 years you've been doing this? Can you remember maybe one or two incidences that have happened that has still stay with you?
Of course, all the families of 9/11. Okay, that's a given. Okay, so if a couple of them even now I'm in touch with. Yeah, like there are so many, so
I
many.
know.
But now, for instance, see, I'm trying to tell you that the after the recession now, COVID, right? The COVID time, right? So how we've had to we couldn't stop, we couldn't close, right? Like we've done it online, even the senior programs have gone on online, the youth leadership program, like online, right? During the summer that we do. But the food pantry could not be. See,
Right.
in 2016, we had seen, I'll tell you about this young woman who was a cancer patient, right? Had no money, no nothing, right? She'd had, of course, she'd had treatment, chemotherapy and radiation, but there was nothing. So at that time, when we took her, she spoke only Telugu. And we took a Telugu staff, speaking some staff person, and went to a food pantry. And she said there was nothing she could eat there, right? So she said, all I want is some rice and dal and some fresh vegetables and milk, and I'll cook myself. She was like a skeleton and she was so skinny. We got some money for her, some blankets and stuff, and we didn't have a food pantry at the time, right? This was 2004, 2005. Then we said, what's the point in people getting food in food pantries which they can't eat, right? They have to get culturally responsive, culturally palatable food. So we started off very small, just dal, atta, rice, milk, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit. The one incident I wanted to tell you about that lady, she was the one. She, of course, she passed away about a few years later, but it's because of her that it made us think that we should, we actually should do this.
Right.
Okay, now for instance, look, things happen like Afghan refugees. Just yesterday, someone who had been beaten up outside Kabul airport, and they were rescued. The family was rescued. The
Wow.
husband and the younger daughter was here, and the mother and the older daughter were in Kabul. They had to be rescued by the government, right? But they beat her with batons before she came, and even now she's on painkillers. They have nothing in their house, so we've been able to give them a lot of groceries, fresh vegetables. We're connecting them to food stamps and health insurance and all that sort of thing. So that type of thing,
How,
like,
how did you hear about that? Did someone
oh,
call you?
she saw the line, our pantry line. You know that there are about 1,100, 1,200 people line up for the food we give, right?
No, I
Let's.
do. I
That's
feel like,
how it's grown.
wow.
So much so, for the first time this week, we made it 2 mornings, like two days, Wednesdays and Thursdays, about 500 people each day come and take the
Wow.
food. So
That's
she saw that and she spoke to one of our staff members, and then, yeah.
how do you handle, what do you suggest when there, let's say there is a family that does need help, whether it's mentally, physically, financially? um, how do you, and let's say they're embarrassed to call SACS, or they don't want to share their name, that does come, right, the
Yeah,
shame
sure.
of
Yeah.
it. How
It,
do you handle that?
it's kept confidential, and
Sure.
they only speak to our staff members. We have social workers. We have 18 languages,
But the
right?
first step, no, I no, SACS is an organization that I think has is solid, right? It has been around
Yeah.
for a long time, and they have evolved for sure on so many different levels. But what I'm saying is, a family, let's say, wants to reach out.
Yeah.
They're just even afraid, just taking the step to whether to call or whether to walk to the organization, whether just to speak to somebody is a huge step. And then doors open.
Yeah.
But someone needs to, have that motivation to call, because some people will not,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Sometimes it is also someone else they know would have been helped.
Sure.
Okay. It's word of mouth.
Sure.
And of course, we have flyers everywhere and we do outreach and all that sort of thing. Not everybody goes on the computer, of course.
Right.
And, even in stores, we have flyers sometimes, and especially outreach for vaccine, right?
Right.
The earlier it's test and trace. And then, of course, we do outreach for the citizens to register to vote and things. We do those things too. So we go to various places and they know whether it is a grocery store or wherever they go to, they see that. But someone who's already been help sort of makes them trust the source and
Sure, of
come to.
course. So, do you have any youngsters that come to SACS?
All families come. Like our staff is, a lot of them are pretty young, so they feel comfortable with them. Yeah. So, and as we run the youth leadership program during the summer, right? So they know.
Right.
They know.
Got it.
Again, yeah.
You've covered all gamuts. You've covered everyone, it seems, which is pretty amazing.
See, there are things that you need to do. Like each organization has to do that. Like for instance, domestic violence. We will talk to them. Our counselors will talk to them, but for further thing, we'll refer them to other organizations.
Sure.
Housing. We know how to do, the rental assistance and all those things we can do. We'll do that. But if it's anything further, we can refer.
Sure.
We don't run an after class school thing. We don't do everything, but what we do, we should do it well, right?
No, what you do is
Focus,
a lot. What you
focus. Yeah,
do.
yeah.
So now this year was a very big year for SACS.
Mm-hmm.
This year was a huge year because, last year you celebrated 20 years. This year, 21 years, and you opened up your own building.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's wonderful. It's
how
wonderful.
walk us through that? How did that happen?
Thanks to New York City, right? City Council and Queensborough President, right? They have this capital funding, right? So we knew about it. And strangely enough, it all happened so very well. Within the year, we had their support. And so 2/3 of it was borne by them, and 1/3 we had to. And there have been so many people who trusted us and invested in us. And Guru Kripa Foundation is one, and Kalpana and Ramesh Bhatia Foundation from Dallas, and Michael Becker and T. Scattasio. So, but these are people who've given a lot of money, and those are the major funders I told you. But there are others who've given consistently. So many of them, right? And the board is very, very supportive. Now, our board, we are very lucky in that. So.
That's amazing. No, I did come to your opening, and that was beautiful. I was a little late to the opening, but that's okay. I still got to see the building. I toured the building, and I'm sure now, since it opened, it's of course evolved, right? I'll have to come back and visit again. And of course, I would love to obviously, even teach a Masala Bhangra class to anybody who wants to come and obviously experience it. But what I really would love to know is, through all of this that you've done in 20 years, right, with SACS, there must have been some challenges. Well, when some challenges do happen, tell me about them. What have been some of your challenges, and then how do you overcome it?
The recession was a challenge. Was a big challenge, and we had only about 3-4 staff at the time, and so everybody took. We didn't want to lay off anybody, and the revenues dwindle to such an extent, it was laughable, right? So we said, okay, everybody will take a cut and pay, and like so I I took a 50% cut, so
Wow.
the others took 15%. So
Right.
yeah, so we survived, right? Like that was fun. And there have been like, for instance, the food pantry, right? Not everybody felt it's a very big undertaking. It's a lot of work, like food pantry work. And people, my friends, were telling me, "Are you crazy? Like, we've seen others like it is there." But yeah, but now they say, okay, did the right thing. The first, the first South Asian food pantry, like culturally
Right.
appropriate food in the state. Yeah.
I just know that, when you go through a challenge, it's hard sometimes. You really have to sit back and think, okay, go back to the roots. Why am I doing this? Why did I create this? Why was this even born? And then when I think about all those things, then the challenge is just a challenge, right? At first it gets me emotionally. Then I just have to put it to the side and say, all right, how do we move forward? Because this is a challenge, and now how do we move forward? And then isn't that life, right? I mean, when you are destined
So,
to do something,
yeah.
somehow find a way to make it happen. And then you celebrate the accolades, and then again another challenge will come, and then you celebrate.
I think you need to be stubborn, and I'm sure you found that too. So,
In a
yeah,
very kind way, right?
yeah, yeah.
If there was somebody today, let's say you met an exact copy of yours, somebody similar to you, you see that grit and energy in this woman. um, what would you say to people today that are wanting to give back in the way that you have given? What would you say to someone today that's starting something new? It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of dedication, it takes a lot of lack of sleep. It just takes a lot of inside grit and determination to keep going when you believe in something so much. What would you say to the youth today who want to do something similar?
I would say, if you really believe in what you're proposing to do, will help people, right? Will be, you believe from the bottom of your heart, right? Just go ahead. And what I said before, all it takes about 3, 4 people
Right.
who think like you, like who sort of you support each other, and then do it, and then grit your teeth and go ahead and do it. And you will be able to convince people. It depends on how much you believe in it, and naturally, then you can convince people. The other thing is flexibility. You need to be really flexible, right? So things change, right? And situations change and issues change. You should be willing to be flexible to move to that, and whatever is the need at that moment, and address that one as far as possible, right?
Hmm. Sure.
And let's remember that it's not personal.
Right.
Nothing is personal here. It is for, it's for the people that you're doing. And if someone actually has some criticism, it's not personally against you. It actually, it's about the issue. It's about what they believe. So as long as we respect one another, I think we can go ahead and do that. Yeah.
In what is now, what does Sudha ji now see for the next few years? Where is SACSS headed? What's next? What's
Okay.
next on your very busy agenda? That it sounds like you have not taken a break since you've come to this country.
No, no. I've had breaks. Earlier is okay, since COVID started now, but I've had time to take a vacation and things like that. So it's nice. I think you need to do that too.
Yes,
Sort of re-energize and come back and do
for
that. Yeah.
sure. So what's your vision now? What's
What's
next?
my wish? I think we need to move to the new building, get it all set up, and then move and make sure the all the programs run smoothly. And we need to do a strategic plan. Our strategic plan that we had done just got finished, so we need to do it for the next 3 years. We are starting a new program, the legal information clinics for people. The people who want to become citizens, help them, and then the immigration issues and so on. And so we'll be starting that. So that is the program part of it. What I would love to see, we have a very good staff, like really committed and qualified, and such empathy, the way they deal with the clients. I'm very happy with them, and sort of uh, training for the staff for the for future. And we would like to get other young people involved in community work, in nonprofit work, so that they think of it as as a career, right?
Mhm.
Like, so we need more people involved. So that's to see how we can do that.
Two things stick out for me, and that is, I'm a mother now. I have children, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Congratulations. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
lovely.
And I'm still doing Masala Bhangra, so I will not quit that no matter what anyone says.
You shouldn't.
No, I will not. But when I think, it's exactly what you just said right now, is getting the youth involved.
Mhm.
I would really like to start showing my children today, let's go give back, let's go volunteer, let's go volunteer and give back in our own community. And I would really like to start showing them that now at this age, because I think it's important that they see it and they get involved. And so I'm glad that you said the youth, because at least the youth that I can start with is my own children. And we as a family go and give back, so we've done something together and we feel good, in giving back to the community. And then second thing is, I just have to share this story with you, and then I'm going to let you go. And that is, when I reached out to your office to to talk to you, I didn't have your mobile number or anything. I just called SACSS, and a very sweet lady answered the phone, and it was very sweet. She talked to me, and she was very kind, and you could tell that she was there doing a job that was given to her. I can just imagine she must have come to SACS and said, please give me something to do. I need to do something because I have this free time. This is my imagination, okay? Because when I was speaking to her, I started asking her questions and she was just sharing with me. And it just felt so awesome to know that she was helping the community. She found her purpose. She said, no problem. I will tell Sudha to call you back. Okay, what is your name again? What is your phone number? Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you so much for calling. And it just felt so cute because, when I think of my grandparents, when they came here, when they stayed with me for so many months, I was busy doing my thing. And so they were bored sometimes. And so I
Yeah.
just kept thinking, where could they go and spend time while I was busy, buzzing around the city teaching Masala Bhangra. So this would have been nice to know that they could have gone to a community center where there were other like-minded people,
Mhm.
to share and thoughts and just spend time. And so this lady who answered the phone really she
Thank you.
she reminded me of that, and so it warmed my heart to know that there are people who are giving back in whatever way, shape, or form to help society be a better place to live.
I just want to leave one thought with you.
Please.
SACS, of course, the focus is on South Asians, Desis, but we have a large community of other communities coming to us as well, right? The Chinese, Koreans, Hispanics, African Americans, Caucasians, they all come. Okay,
That's
we
awesome.
serve all of them. So actually, it's a very large group, and that's the reason we have a full-time Spanish speaker on our staff, full-time Mandarin speaker, two of them on our staff and so on. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Okay. And one who speaks Haitian and French Creole.
Wow.
Okay. So, yeah. So,
That's amazing. Sudhaji, I really want to thank you very much for spending the hour with me and just sharing your journey of, when you came to this country and what you did all those years before SACSS was even founded, and then it was founded, and now what you have been doing. You're such an inspiration to me, and I really hope that the youth also get to see this, because it is, our job to take on what you all have created and carry it forward. I really believe that, and I really salute you
thank
for
you.
all of the time and energy that you have given to this community, and then some, and opening up your heart to so many other communities. I commend you on everything that you've done, and it's inspiring to me to obviously keep going and keep doing my thing, and then to give back as well. I
Thank
really want
you.
you to know that.
It's been a pleasure. Great pleasure. Thank you, Sarina. Good luck in all you do.
Thank you. For everyone out there, please check out sacsny.org. It's SACSSNY.org. Really see what they're doing. They've evolved so much. And so I really want you to go and check it out, because at least support it, donate something, to give back to this community, especially in Queens. But so many people around the world obviously go there now. And I think it's a solid structure that has been there for so long and helped. And you cannot go wrong in calling SACSS. So Sudhaji, thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to see you soon and do some Masala Bhangra with you.
Sure. That's great. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.